again, everybody. It's Patrick. It's after work. It's about 4:45 today. I kind of like it when it's like this, when everything is kind of routine. It's not as exciting. When it's not as exciting, I don't feel like I'm as sharp or I'm as with it as I could be. But I started off the day planning on making 4 visits, and I ended up making 6 visits. And there was a couple of fires I had to put out, some things I had to respond to right away. But I got it all done in a pretty good amount of time. The last visit, I was planning on being there at 3:45 in the afternoon anyway. And so everything worked out pretty good. So yeah, that's good. And then tomorrow there's Thanksgiving, so I had to reschedule a couple of appointments, but that seemed to work out okay. And then tomorrow I have an admission planned. I'm going to admit patient number 13 on my caseload. So that's pretty cool. That's a little bit of a milestone. I'm going to have 13 patients. So I'm up to a full-size caseload, which is pretty good. I feel more organized now than I did before. Now that I've gotten the hang of scheduling things and figuring out when to do the things that don't have to happen every week. Like home health aid supervision and port flushes and stuff. Yeah. I got that ridiculous soap note written yesterday. It took me a little while to chug through it and do a pathophysiology write-up. I picked a different disorder than everybody else. The case study, everybody wrote up a case, they gave us a case study with the symptoms and the history of present illness, and then we had to come up with a soap note and the pathophysiology of what disease we thought it was. And everybody did a write-up on Graves' disease, but looking at the same info, I decided to do a write-up on toxic nodular thyroid syndrome or something like that. So we'll see how that went. Actually, on the previous soap note, I only got 50%. I got a 50% on it because I didn't realize that you were supposed to do a pathophysiology write-up. So I just did the soap note and handed it in. And the other students were like, "Where's your pathophysiology?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? The assignment was just to write a soap note." But apparently the instructions to do that were kind of squirreled away and hidden somewhere on the website. So took a little hit to my grade with that one. So instead of starting off at a 95, I'm starting off at an 85. But whatever, that's fine. Halfway through the course, plenty of time to catch up. And then for religious studies, we had our choice of Buddhism or Hinduism, and I read, there we go, Being Peace by some kind of Vietnamese Buddhist monk. It was actually pretty good. It was sort of like a simplistic form of a lot of the same information I came across by reading primary sources. Yeah, it's a book that I'll definitely lend to somebody after I write the assignment on it tonight. So I think it's probably a better way to introduce people to Buddhism, a better way to introduce people at large to Buddhism than the more complex books that I have on my shelves. So I will pick somebody later on tonight to give the book to say, "Here, enjoy this book, and smile, and remember to breathe," and all of those good things. It was like a 130-page book. I blew through it in 3 or 4 hours, just kind of sitting at the bar doing my homework. And although it was pretty much all review of stuff that I had already read about Buddhism, it did kind of remind me, just because of the different ways that things were phrased, about how similar or how relevant Buddhism is to my career or my profession. There were a lot of little statements and points that kind of reminded me of oh yeah, that's right, that's why this makes sense to me to do, which I guess will play a pretty large part in the little paper that I have to write about it. It seems kind of silly to make us read a 130-page book and then just write 250 words about it. It seems like kind of a waste of time. But I have fun with it. I write some fun things for class. But you know, like a lot of it had to do with you know, when I started working at the group home for adults with mental retardation, and how, you know, how important it was in that job to just smile and relax and not take the behaviors of the mentally retarded people you're there to take care of personally. And maybe because I had been reading about things like, you know, Zen Buddhism and shamanism and things like that, that all seems like really obvious to me. Like, this is going to be a really long work day, and I'm going to be really unhappy if, you know, the job that I'm doing is making me unhappy, you know, if I'm taking the behaviors personally. It was because it was a really high behavior house. Like, people, the residents there would act out occasionally, and we had to respond to them in a prescribed way, in a way that was agreed upon by the family, a psychologist, a nurse, and a member of the press, or something like that. I forget exactly how it worked. But it was, you know, a really well thought out behavior plan that was constructed to keep the person safe and protect their freedom as much as possible. It seemed all very clear cut, and there was a prescribed way already thought out by somebody of how you're supposed to deal with the things that came up. So the rest was really easy, to just, you know, smile and hang out and help people do their daily chores. You know, when I went from, and you know, what I encountered when I was doing that job was that the people that I was working with were not able to do that, and they took the they took the residents' behaviors very personally, and the residents' behaviors made them very upset. And you know, you could just tell by the looks on their faces and what they thought of this job that they were doing. And that was, you know, part of what inspired me to get into nursing, because as a licensed nurse, I had more ability to advocate for the people that I was taking care of, and more recourse when I thought things were not happening the way I thought that they were supposed to happen. But you know, reading this little modern introductory blurb on Buddhism kind of reminded me that those two things kind of were concurrent with each other. You know, that the aims and the paradigms were very similar, and very simple, both of those things. Well, next week I have to do another assessment video, and this time it's going to be the cardiovascular and the respiratory system. And I think for this I will not be calling upon my little sister, because it's going to require being shirtless. So I think I may have to put the word out on Facebook and try to recruit one of my guy friends into, you know, taking off his shirt so I can, you know, percuss the cardiac borders and, you know, demonstrate that I do in fact know where Erb's point is and the point of maximal impulse, which is stuff I had to do in order to graduate from nursing school in the first place. But this particular school has decided that I must do it again. So here we go again. At least I don't have to do clinicals over again. I guess, you know, that's the good part. Although I did enjoy clinicals, I would have gladly done clinicals over again. So I'll have to find a willing test subject to do those assessments with. Hopefully somebody on Facebook will volunteer. Well, that's what's going on for right now. I hope you're all having a good week, and I'll see you next time.